Hello everybody. Today we will be talking about the three empires in Greek mythology. Those would be the empires ruled by Uranus, then Kronos, then Zeus, as each of them overthrew each other. Now enough stalling, let's jump right into it. You see, in the beginning of Greek mythology there was nothing except chaos. Lady Chaos, to be correct. These embodiments of manifested concepts don't usually have one particular physical form and are usually just more symbolic of what they represent. So, can we, Thank you. Now, as I was saying, originally there was nothing but chaos, but out of nowhere, Gaia, the embodiment of the earth, Tartarus, the embodiment of the deepest part of the underworld, and in some interpretation, Eros, the embodiment of love as well, is just, pops out of nowhere. Lady Chaos, fascinated by this, decided to create two beings of her own. Erebus, the embodiment of shadows and darkness, and Nyx, the embodiment of night. These two would go on to be lovers and create other deities of their own, but let's jump to Gaia and her beings that she will eventually create. Gaia, without the help of a mate, or a man, basically, she created Uranus, the embodiment of the sky, Pontus, the embodiment of the sea, and Eurus, the embodiment of the mountains. However, some interpretations say that Poire and Pontus were conceived between Gaia and, Ether, the embodiment of light, one of the sons of Erebus and Nyx. But we'll talk about maybe in another video or so. Anyway, Uranus decided to mate with Gaia, and with Gaia, they had children, as you would expect in this type of situation. These children were actually known to actually have humanoid forms. These children being the 12 original Titans, 6 boys and 6 girls, whose names were Oceanus, the eldest and the personification of the Oceanus River, which was said to encircle the earth and said to be the source of all life, gods and creatures included. Koios, the Titan of the inquisitive mind, his name meaning query. Crius, the Titan god of the constellations, who ruled over the southern corner of the world. Hyperion, the Titan god of watchfulness and heavenly light. Iapetus, the Titan god of mortality. Kronos, as all Greek mythology fans know, is the Titan god of time. The sisters were Tia, the Greek goddess of light, the Titan goddess of light, and wife of Hyperion. Oh yeah, for those who didn't know, incest wasn't really a problem with the Greek gods, so let's just continue. Rhea, who holds both the title of goddess and titan, since for things that happen later on, but let's stick to this, she became the Titan goddess of motherhood, fertility, childbirth, and comfort and good living. And of course, can't forget that she's also the wife of Kronos. Themis, goddess of justice, law, and order. Mnemosyne, goddess of memory, and who would later go on to go with Zeus and create the, 9 muses, hence why she's also known as the mother of artistic inspiration. Phoebe, the goddess of intellect and prophecy, as well as the wife of Koios. And Thetis, who was the wife of Oceanus and was the mother of all the ocean gods, except Poseidon of course, and was the mother of the ocean nymphs. Uranus and Gaia also had, 6 other children, but they weren't exactly titans. No, these children were the 3 elder Cyclopses, who, unlike normal Cyclopses in Greek mythology, were immortal. Their names were Argos, Therapus, and Brontes. Gaia and Uranus also created Hecatoncheires, creatures with hundreds of heads and hundreds of arms, and were extremely massive and strong enough to lift mountains. Their names were Briareus, Gyes, and Cottus. However, as incredible as these creatures were, Uranus was not exactly the best of fathers, as he found these children that weren't the Titans hideous. So he shoved them right back up into Gaia, and made sure that they couldn't escape. This obviously extremely frightened the Titans and made them unwilling to, be very happy with their father. However, he was way more powerful than them, so they couldn't exactly do much about the situation. Gaia, on the other hand, was extremely angered at what her husband had just done to her children, and possibly about the disrespect he had just shown to her. So she decided to end his reign. She crafted a sickle out of adamant and told her children to go castrate their father. Of course, they were all extremely scared of him and didn't want to risk it, all except Kronos, who was more than happy to do it. When Uranus went to lie with Gaia the next time, Kronos came and cut off the you-know-whats, then threw them in the ocean. Oddly enough, or well, understandably enough, Uranus felt defeated by this and decided to leave the Earth, but not before telling that the other Titans would eventually be punished for their transgressions against him. Kronos didn't really take much mind to this and declared himself the new king. Now, let's move on to Kronos' rule, shall we? With Uranus no longer ruling in Gaia and her children finally freed, Gaia created, how you would say, a utopia for mortals. She voluntarily created all the crops that mankind would possibly need, to the point humans didn't need to work, hunt, or farm. In fact, crime even disappeared completely during this time. Humans basically lived a blissful, peaceful life till the time that they would grow old and die. Even with giants and nymphs being created from the blood of Uranus being cutting off. And side note, when the you-know-whats were cut off and thrown into the ocean, they created a foam that eventually formed into Aphrodite, or at least she came out of that foam. But she didn't really interact or come out of the ocean until later on. We'll get more on that later on, though. These were the golden age of man. That's literally what it was called. However, it didn't really last that long, as eventually Kronos began to take on the aspects of his father in his ruling style, and eventually feared being overthrown by his brothers, the Cyclopses and Hecatonchires, so he threw them into Tartarus. Not only that, but he also had a she-dragon. Well, I say she-dragon, but she was more of half-dragon, half-human, and her male part was currently and constantly unable to fully form. It constantly changed into different types of animals. One minute a bear, the next minute a lion, and so on. She also had a scorpion tail and a hair full of snakes. Her name was Campy, by the way. Naturally, of course, this upsetted Gaia, but she wasn't going to do anything, because her and Uranus actually received a prophecy of their own and delivered it to Kronos, telling him that one of his children will eventually overthrow him. So, what does Kronos do? Make sure that he doesn't have any kids, don't sleep with Rhea, use protection? Nope, he chooses is that every time he has a kid, he eats it. He had his wife Rhea bring him the children as they were born so he could do this. They did this for each of their kids. First, Hestia, who would become later the goddess of the hearth. Demeter, who would become the goddess of the harvest. Hera, who would go on to become the goddess of marriage and childbirth. Hades, who would go on to be known as the god of the underworld, though most people debate that Poseidon, the god of the sea, came from before Hades, but that's something else. And Rhea and Kronos continued this until Rhea decided that she finally had enough, and rather than give her last child Zeus to Kronos, she wrapped a rock in some cloth and gave him to eat. He fell for it, and he hid Zeus away on Gaia, who gave Zeus to the nymphs Adrastea and Ida, who nursed Zeus on the name Amalthea, though in some versions she's a goat. Well, a mythical goat, anyway. Who one day Zeus accidentally breaks off one of her horns and causes that horn to become the Horn of Plenty, which can create infinite amount of food. As Zeus becomes of age as he grows up, basically, he decides that he wants revenge on his father for what he has done to his siblings. So, with the help of Metis, Titanus, the daughter of Oceanus and Tethys, she was also the goddess of wisdom at the time. After she had fallen in love with Zeus, she and him concocted an idea to create a potion that would make his father throw up all of his siblings and help him disguise himself as one of his father's cupbearers. After which, Kronos drank the potion that they had made, which caused him to throw up each of the siblings. First, of course, came out the rock that was supposed to be Zeus, then came out either Hades or Poseidon, whichever one you prefer to believe was born, and then came out, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia. Interesting thing though, most philosophers believe that them being thrown up is actually shown of their second birth, meaning this is the new order of which they were born, which is why Zeus is often considered the oldest despite him being born last, and why Hestia is considered the youngest despite being born first. Anyway, as they were thrown up and they caught themselves, they realized their father was in a weakened state, so rather than risk fighting anybody that was still around, they ran for a mountain called Olympus. where they set up base and began planning their revenge on their father. Now let's take this time to go to Zeus and his siblings, shall we? Now, Zeus and his siblings being freed and officially taking up the name Olympians after the mountain they were on, caused a 10-year-long war between them and the Titans. Thankfully, Zeus was able to gather some of the Titans onto his side, like Oceanus and Prometheus. However, the war still didn't really end until Zeus finally came up with the idea to go down to Tartarus and free his uncles, the Cyclopses and the Hecatoncri. After defeating Campri, the Hecatoncri and the Cyclopses joined Zeus on his team. The Cyclops is so grateful that they crafted Zeus's master boat, which always returned to his hand. Poseidon's trident gave him the power to create violence or calm the water with a mere stroke, ocean or any type of water. And Hades' helmet of invisibility, which once he put it on, he could be invisible to all manner of everything, even gods and mortals alike, even titans. With these weapons and the help of the Hecatoncry's immense and powerful strength, the Olympians managed to overthrow Kronos and banished him and the titans that fought on his side to Tartarus. And as a little payback, Zeus allowed the Hecatoncry to be the ones that are guarding the Titans to ensure that they do not escape. Of course, not all Titans were banished to Tartarus that fought on Kronos' side. For instance, Atlas, who was the one that led the Titans into battle, was forced and told to raise and hold the heavens for all of eternity by punishment of Zeus. With the Titans fully taken care of, Zeus and his brothers drew lots to decide who would rule over what. Hades got the underworld, ensuring that the Titans and the dead stay dead and stay in Tartarus. Poseidon got the oceans, allowing him to control all the oceans and the sea. And Zeus got the sky, which meant that since his domain was above all the others, he would be the ruler and the king. And that is where we're going to end for today. The reason why we're stopping here is because there's a whole bunch of other myths and legends that go on from here, and it's probably going to take us a year if we continue. So let's just stop here. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, we do requests sometimes, so if you think you want to know something or you want us to talk more about this, be sure to like, share, and subscribe and leave it in the comments. And we might do a video on it. See you guys next time.